Outside the Fold: Conversion, Modernity and Belief by Gauri Viswanathan was published in 1998. It is a radical re examination of religious conversion. Gauri Viswanathan skillfully argues that conversion is an interpretive act that belongs in the realm of cultural criticism. She examines key moments in colonial and post colonial history to show how conversion questions the limitations of secular ideologies, particularly the discourse of rights central to both the British Empire and the British nation state. Implicit in such questioning is an attempt to construct an alternative epistemological and ethical foundation of national community. Vishwanathan grounds her study in an examination of two simultaneous linked events: the legal emancipation of religious minorities in England and the acculturation of colonial subjects to British rule. These events configured a common pattern of national consolidation that produced the English state. She seeks to explain why resistance in both cases frequently took the form of religious conversion, especially to minority or alternative religions. Through the figure of the convert, Vishwanathan addresses the vexing question of the role of belief and minority discourse in modern society. She establishes new points of contact between the convert as religious dissenter and as colonial subject. This convergence provides a transcultural perspective not otherwise visible in literary and historical texts. It allows for radically new readings of significant figures as diverse as John Henry Newman, Pandita Ramabai, Annie Besant, and B.R. Ambedkar, as well as close studies of court cases, census reports, and popular English fiction. These varying texts illuminate the means by which discourses of religious identity are produced, contained, or opposed by the languages of law, reason, and classificatory knowledge. Outside the Fold is a challenging, provocative contribution to the multidisciplinary field of cultural studies. Vishwanathan emphasizes the need to historicize conversion not only as a spiritual but also a political activity. Vishwanathan examines not only the multiple cultural forces that affected the decision to convert, but also the numerous social and legal ramifications that followed. She argues that religion is a worldly activity involved in the world larger than the self. It is an important element among many in the way we mentally constitute ourselves and can become a gesture of defiance against a culture we reject. Conversion as protest absorbs most of Vishwanathan's attention. Her thesis is that conversion is a subversion of secular power. This assumption asserts that conversion ranks among the most destabilizing activities in modern society because it restores belief from the margins of society to a more worldly function. In the first chapter, Cross Currents, Viswanathan observes a communication between events in the colonies and in England as 19th century politicians attempted to create a national English identity. The outsider at home and abroad was made to feel that his or her religion was not an insuperable barrier to inclusion in the common culture. In her chapter on John Henry Newman, Viswanathan explains how Newman was eager to demonstrate a unity of English religious opinion distinct from what he considered the anti ecclesiastical sentiments of the state. He opposed religious toleration because he believed it fostered discord and sectarianism. The Roman Catholic Church offered for Newman the opportunity to dissolve class differences and create a transnational spirituality. Vishwanathan devotes a chapter each to three other converts, Pandita Ramabai, Annie Besant, and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Ramabai continually sought to evolve an idea of human perfection and achieve her own salvation, moving finally toward Unitarianism. Vishwanathan argues Ramabai's theological disputation, social protest, and adversarial tone display the mixture of religion and politics that caused the English to see her as simply an oppositional figure, one of whom they could never. Besant also reveals that the uneasy amalgam of the spiritual and the cultural made these converts threatening. Moving from Christianity to atheism to theosophy, with its theories of racial difference and evolution, Besant viewed colonialism as a necessary stage, a point when Western materialism and practicality could be informed by Eastern spirituality. But this was only to stop along the way toward a commonwealth, a universal brotherhood when all would be interdependent. Vishwanathan finds this goal displaced, but she maintains that Besant's political convictions were the result of her spiritual evolution. Ambedkar's conversion from Hinduism to Buddhism has failed to secure a self representation for the untouchables. Vishwanathan argues that it was the result of Ambedkar's search for a new way to think about the dilemma of the untouchables. Buddhism provided both a theory of Indian history and a set of values that emancipated the untouchables from their degradation. However, Ambedkar never found a way to make his new religious vision active in the world. He remained ineffectual, caught between an ambitious political goal and a conversion that was not taken seriously. In other chapters, Vishwanathan argues that religious conversion has enormous social and religious implication, not just for the convert, but for his or her entire family. She also points out that the historic intersections of religion and politics results in a complicated interweaving threads having volatile consequences in the modern world, both Eastern and Western. The continual tension between religious conviction and the codifications of culture is highlighted. The convert's life, Vishwanathan argues, is embedded in a social context and always vulnerable to the pressures of political and social forces. Outside the Fold concludes that as a form of cultural crossing, conversion comes to represent a vital release into difference.